quote unquote, know thyself is a very famous quote. It is literally everywhere. It is in the Bible. It was spoken by ancient philosophers. It is probably tattooed on someone's ass. I don't know. But what does it really mean? How can we not know ourselves? It is us. It should be self evident, right? How I wish it is the case, but it is rather self evident that we don't have a clue. We don't know shit. The human mind had always been the battleground of ideas. And so imagine the era we live now with the internet. We are constantly bombarded with information that pushing their own hidden agenda. We are literally overloaded with information. Propaganda masked with symbols of heavens, ideologies, it is everywhere. And to young naive minds, we can easily be infected and manipulated to do the bidding of an ideology. Carl Jung, an analytical psychologist, observed a rather scary fact of human nature, and he said, people do not have ideas, ideas have them. So this is another video of idea exploration, and disclaimer, I do not claim to be right. This is just a perspective. The rise of the self-help movement on the modern era, the idea of finding yourself and creating yourself are preached, but the two ideas are a bit contradictory. I mean, how can we create and find ourselves at the same time? Which is the truth? Do we really find ourselves or do we create ourselves? And this idea can easily be interpreted as either or. And I will examine and explore these very ideas. Creating yourself basically says that we can be whoever we want to be. We can manifest our desires, etc. We can aspire to great heights. But what about the idea of finding yourself? How are they different? I'm gonna start with a fundamental question. What is a human being? Because the two ideas is about us, humans. And let's try to answer that first. In a very basic sense, a human or Homo sapiens is a mammalian animal that is apparently more intelligent than his fellow animals. So intelligent that he or she can kill himself or herself while laughing. Well, that is tragic. We can say that human beings have distinct aspects. One aspect would be our animal side. This would be our instincts, impulses, etc. Another aspect is our ability to reason, to connect happenstance or ideas in relation to another. Then, creativity, the capacity to envision something from the mind and create it into something tangible. Creativity is actually the combination of the animal aspect and the rational aspect, the divine union in esoteric words. And that's the basic idea of the human being. We are really much more complicated than that, but for the sake of discussion, I'll go with this model. So the idea of knowing ourselves then is basically reconnecting with our instincts. And what Carl Jung said about ideas having people is basically if we don't have full connection with ourselves, we can, because we can deny ourselves, our mind can deny our animal part if we choose to do so. Of course, it's never going away, it's just repressed, and later on, if it stays repressed, it's gonna manifest inside you, or you will project it to someone else, and you will do this unconsciously. Just to bring us into the same page, I will define repression in psychological terms. Another disclaimer, I am not a psychologist, nor I am studying psychology. I just love to read books about psychology and philosophy. So, repression means the unconscious blocking of unpleasant emotions, impulses, memories, and thoughts from your conscious mind. Sometimes, repression of our animal side can even lead to neurosis, depression, and worse, suicide. So the question, why would we even repress our own animal side? Belief system or cultural beliefs that denies it. Mostly this belief system comes from the environment or culture we grow up in. And the whole idea of finding yourself is as simple as reconnecting with your innermost instincts. But facing our own shadow. Shadow is the term for all the aspects of ourselves that we deny, that are not integrated into our own ego consciousness. And so facing it requires a lot of courage because we are mostly afraid of our own shadow, of our own capacity for aggression, for example. Whatever the content of a shadow might be, because we all have different shadows. But beyond our fear lies our true selves. Our ego fears death, but our animal side does not. So until we conquer our fear of death, we will not meet that other part of us, that the wild beasts inside us all that is ready to die to fighting for what it wants. And this side is not just limited to the activity that we find meaningful or passion, because the animal part of us isn't just one animal. There are lots of them, from the wildest instinct to the vainest one, and one instinct theoretically should unite them all. The most powerful instinct. That one drives that speaks within you and all else will shut the fuck up. That instinct. So if finding ourselves means reconnecting with our instincts, then what does creating ourselves means? Finding ourselves coincides with our instinct, but our mind would be the one that has to arrange those instincts in relation to the world. What I mean is, we create our own ethics, principles, morals, and I think of them as the filter of my instincts. Because to be real honest, some parts of me are more likely to choose savagery and force for the sake of it. But my mind hones that instinct down according to my morals and reduce it into sometimes sharp and harsh words. Not always, but just when necessary to draw clear boundaries. And in order to create yourself anew, to rise from the ashes like a phoenix. The phoenix is actually the symbol for inner transformation because our bodies don't die, but the content, i.e., the idea that's inside the body, that dies. So it's a rebirth in a very logical sense. You must be ready to burn yourself in your own flame, because how can you rise anew if you have not first become ashes? Friedrich Nietzsche said. And so before we can change, we need to be willing to change. Before we are willing to change, we need to know ourselves first. Because knowing ourselves, i.e., the animal part of us, we create a relationship with that part of ourselves in a sense. And so basically creating ourselves and knowing ourselves are both different concepts, but one cannot go without the other. And it is good to reconcile contradictory ideas like this to develop discernment, and not fall prey with vague concepts or words. Because our mind is literally the battleground of ideas, and we need to sharpen our weapon. That is, our ability to reason, to win the war. All in all, that's my take on it, and just a reminder to be careful and roam this world of ideas like a free spirit. Play with them, don't let them play with you. And yeah, before I end the video, I want to let you know that I am creating a webtoon or webcomic, and it is out now on Webtoon and Tapas. The genre is action and fantasy. It is about the lost heir of a very powerful empire that bears a curse and is slowly turning him into a mindless demon as he ages. And his very existence is banned in the empire because of the curse. But his grandfather chose to save him in secret in hopes of the cure. All the while, Blaze struggles to find meaning through the suffering. So check the story out if you're interested. And if you like this kind of content, you can subscribe. Yeah, that is so lovely to have you here, and very thank you for your time in watching this video. And tell me your thoughts. I would really appreciate it, and so we can improve together. Yeah, that is all.